50 years on, Germany, now a unified country, has changed dramatically. The welcome for the Queen hasn't.
Wherever the Queen goes, she brings with her a sense of occasion, and there's been real excitement here in Germany in the run-up to this visit. She's on every front page today, and the papers are full of what to do, what to wear if you meet her. And German television has been running British-themed programmes. And that's the thing about the Queen. Wherever she goes, she brings with her an indefinable something that no one else can.
Queen is our big differentiator in the eyes of many of our foreign partners and friends. They deal with other governments, they deal with other heads of state, but the Queen is something completely unique. And you see that in the reaction of the crowds lining the streets.
Two of the most powerful women in the world, one a monarch, the other the German Chancellor, who has been dubbed the Queen of Europe. And given the question mark over the future of Britain in the EU, the timing of this state visit is being seen as something of a diplomatic coup.
I think for many people, for many different reasons, this is a very important visit, a very important moment, and it brings Britain and Germany closer together at a time which is, for us, actually very important for there to be good and close relationships.
As a constitutional monarch, the Queen must remain politically neutral. Hers is more of a personal power. Arriving at the state banquet, she is wearing Queen Victoria's rubies as she delivers words echoing a lifetime of experience.
We know that division in Europe is dangerous and that we must guard against it in the West as well as in the east of our continent. That remains a common endeavour.
Flying the flag for the United Kingdom at the British ambassador's residence in Berlin. Every year, a garden party is held to honour the Queen, but this is the first time she and the Duke of Edinburgh have actually been able to attend.
The interest in Germany in the Queen is already big. People have been thinking about the institution of the monarchy and about the overall relationship between Germany and the United Kingdom. In diplomatic speak, we call it soft power. It's what the Queen stands for. It's the values that she embodies, and that has deep impact.
There's all those disputes we do have at the moment in Europe about Britain and Europe and the rest of the world, so it's important that we do have this unifying personality.
She's there and she stands for something and a value that is not changing, and so it's like an authority.
You know, all the emotions here at this garden party that show that there's a very strong belief in Germany that please stay in the EU, we need you.
Very smiley and talkative, actually.
Yeah, and I never really got this whole Queen thing, to be honest. I really didn't, but I've got it now, and I just... Okay, sorry, I posted on Facebook that I've fallen in love with the Queen.
In Germany's modern democracy, sections of the wall which once separated East from West in the Cold War now stand only as symbolic fragments. And this is a country which remembers its deeper past, those who were killed in one of the most dreadful persecutions in history.
70 years ago, British forces liberated this camp, and they discovered, much to their horror, that on this very soil, tens of thousands of people had died in a most horrific fashion.
It was liberated by World War II Allied troops in April 1945. 70 years later, it is the Queen's request that she and the Duke of Edinburgh end their German state visit by paying their respects at the site of the Bergen-Belsen concentration camp. And for some, the memories are very personal.
To me, it was just one huge horror story. How any human beings could treat other human beings in this way. Just incredible.
I don't think there was a sort of screaming of joy because everybody thought we must be dreaming. We hear an English voice. That wasn't what we were preparing us for. We were preparing us to die.
Her visit shows that she takes human suffering seriously. She identifies with the pain and deep suffering of the Jewish people. And together with so many other people, she's absolutely determined to guarantee that the horrors that took place here in Belsen will never happen anywhere else again.
In Britain, religion and the monarchy are forever intertwined. Since King Henry VIII famously separated the English church from Rome, every monarch has become defender of the faith and head of the Church of England. Victoria. She was devout, outspoken on church matters. She even wrote about her views on sermons in her diaries.
I think that sincerity of faith is something that Queen Victoria shares with Elizabeth II. I feel absolutely sure that both women, in what is unquestionably a very lonely position, have felt upheld at moments, many moments possibly in their reign, by a very strong Christian faith.
Many have found the practice of quiet personal reflection surprisingly rewarding, even discovering greater spiritual depth to their lives.
In her Christmas broadcasts, she talks often about how the teachings of Christ are what inform and inspire her.
The Christmas message shows us that this love is for everyone. There is no one beyond its reach.
Elizabeth II has always had her feet very firmly on the ground, but spiritually, she's got this dimension in which her personal faith is linked to her duty as a monarch.
And each monarch also has formal duties in relation to the government of the day.
It was during Victoria's reign that political power moved away from the sovereign, but she still kept a keen interest in the details of political life, as does Queen Elizabeth, who at the start of her reign decided to change the monarch's regular meetings with the Prime Minister into a weekly affair, the audience.
When Parliament sits, the Prime Minister arrives for their regular meeting, where the Queen has what's been described as the right to be consulted, to encourage and to warn. With an accumulated wisdom gained over the course of 12 British Prime Ministers. Her first PM was Winston Churchill, who'd known Elizabeth since she was a child and was the only elected member of Parliament under both Victoria and Elizabeth.
Well, Churchill was in love with her. There's no other way of putting it. One member of his private office said that he was dotty about her and felt very protective of her and wanted to ease her into the duties of monarchy.
And she receives the red boxes daily, containing cabinet and foreign and Commonwealth papers.
She's been terribly well informed. When you think about it, the first weekly intelligence summary she got from the Joint Intelligence Committee in February 1952 would have had at least a section on it, I'm sure, of Stalin's capabilities and military intentions. Can you imagine it?
The long reigns of Elizabeth and Victoria mean they have had to steer their way through periods of extraordinary change.
Queen Victoria's reign saw the Industrial Revolution, economic progress, and the growth of the British Empire. Scores of grand buildings went up during the Victorian age, many of which are still with us today, like this one, the Victoria and Albert Museum. It houses one of the largest collections of decorative art and design in the world. So what is Victoria and Albert's legacy in terms of art and culture?
It's fundamental. I mean, this museum, as you know, is the Victoria and Albert Museum, and that name is not an accident. It was renamed the Victoria and Albert Museum in 1899, and it was one of Queen Victoria's last public appearances when she came to lay the foundation stone of the front of our museum.
How big a role did Victoria and Albert have in bringing the arts to the people?
Throughout her life, and indeed throughout Albert's life, they were actively promoting education and culture, art and science. This whole complex at South Kensington is thanks to the way they supported and promoted these activities.
So much so that this area became known as Albertopolis, also taking in the Albert Memorial, Victoria's vast tribute to the man she adored, who died at the age of 42.
The great expansion seen in the Victorian age has not been repeated during Elizabeth's reign. Instead, there have been huge leaps in science, technology, medicine, even space travel, and far greater freedom and tolerance.
In an age of rapid innovation and cultural change, the Queen recognises pioneers from every field. At Windsor Castle, she has a gathering of the holders of the Order of Merit. It's a celebration of the elite from music, art, medicine, astronomy, architecture, theatre. Queen Victoria may have been the first monarch to try the telephone with none other than the inventor Alexander Graham Bell. But it was Elizabeth who in 1958 made the first direct-dialed long-distance telephone call.
This is the Queen speaking from Bristol. Good afternoon, Lord Provost.
Good afternoon, Your Majesty.
She was the first British monarch to send an email in 1976 and has a Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and Flickr account in her name. In the monarchy's 1,000-year history, only 2 British sovereigns have marked their silver, golden and diamond jubilees. Victoria and Elizabeth. To mark her 60 years on the throne, Elizabeth chose to be photographed in front of the Queen Victoria Memorial with the diamonds worn by Victoria more than a century earlier. And if a Jubilee celebration is a test of popularity, it's one the Queen easily passed. Hundreds of thousands turned out to celebrate. Her speech that year seemed to recognise her unique place in the world.
I have been privileged to witness some of that history, and with the support of my family, rededicate myself to the service of our great country and its people, now and in the years to come.
Pepper!